We've got Trey in Oklahoma. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
We're doing all right. Yeah, you're on with Matt and Andrew.
Hi, Trey.
Oh, hi. I'm so glad to be here. I've been wanting to call in for a while, but I noticed that the Freedom from Religion Federation guy was on, and
Foundation. But
Freedom from Religion Foundation.
we'll work it into Star Trek later.
It's still
anyway.
FFRF.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still
Okay. Well, I am, and this is kind of hard because can you hear me still?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. It's kind of hard to say because I've been teaching elementary music and art and gifted and talented for 17 years
At a public school?
small town. Yes, in a small town in Oklahoma.
okay.
And I'm afraid. I mean, I didn't ask my wife about calling. I didn't ask anybody.
It's funny because I'm watching Andrew compose a brief in his head right now.
I
he knows where this is going.
Yeah, I hear all the things.
But tell us what's going on at your public school where you teach.
Oh, wow. Okay. For 17 years, I have been, well, I was told I could stop at one point, but then I got almost ostracized. But when I came into the school, and it's actually my hometown too,
Oh, wow.
They do the nativity with the first grade.
Okay.
And
This is like a live nativity scene for the.
No, like on stage. That's their program. Like
Okay.
I have to spend all of Christmas season teaching the first grade. They were doing those songs that are really hard to do. The really hard songs. But I changed it to it's called a nursery rhyme nativity, and so that it's just the story. And I tell them, we sing this song about Herod. Oh, King Herod was a very nasty king. But I just made it fun for them because the way they were doing it had the old English style language and all this stuff that I just couldn't bring myself to do. And Jehovah's Witnesses could not be a part of music for the whole 2-3 months that I have to teach it. So it's been a struggle, but
You think that would be the obvious nail in the coffin right there?
Yeah,
Hey, we've got a school program that some kids of some religion can't participate in, but we're not doing anything wrong.
for 3 months too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot wrong with teaching religious music in public schools, and the younger the children, the better the separation of state and church tends to be, which doesn't technically make sense from a principle standpoint, but that's the way typically courts have interpreted it. Are you wanting to get this stopped? Are you wanting to have to stop teaching this? Is that your goal? Or are you wondering if this is legal?
I have tried to stop it, but dude, I'm kind of known as I went to an Assembly of God church here for a while, and I tried all the different churches around, and I'm pretty into the community. I actually published a children's book with the Native American tribe here, and this children's book was used for a Bible sermon recently, and I did not write it from a children. This child did a Bible sermon at her church with it because it's about helping others, and I did not write the book because of that. But I'm just saying, I am an atheist. And I feel like a walking demon sometimes because it's like I have to be I'll be talking to people about stuff and they say, "Oh, God is so good to you, isn't he?" And I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I'm now curious. Because normally when people ask me church-state separation questions and is this legal?
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good about sussing it out now after this many years and figuring it out. And yet, because of a couple things that he said, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because this is clearly happening in the music classroom, but it is essentially rehearsal for what could be viewed as an extracurricular play. So what do you think about what we
there's a number of things. So first of all, if you have Is This Legal questions, a great place to visit is ffrf.org. We have an extensive legal FAQ, and religious music is one of those. What courts have said is that in some instances, it's perfectly okay to teach kids music that also happens to be religious because there's a lot of value in some of these older hymns. Musical value in songs that happen to be religious versus religious value in songs that happen to be musical.
Which I think I'm actually kind of okay with.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's sort of, you could liken it to, we can teach about religion,
right,
but we can't preach religion.
It's a difference, well,
in the public school.
Although I'm in favor of comparative religions courses, which are generally more critical, and they're not about teaching the religion, but teaching about them.
Yes.
But they're also not about teaching that they're wrong. And so I could see saying, you look at like Joni Mitchell or somebody doing Amazing Grace. Mm-hmm. Now that's clearly a religious song, and of course she can sing whatever the hell she wants. Yeah. But it is used in an almost secular sense in a variety of cases.
Yeah, Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah is like another.
Yeah, that's not religion. That's actually anti-religious when you truly dig in. And it's not Jeff Buckley's. It's Leonard Cohen's.
I like the Jeff Buckley version.
I do too. Yeah. I like that version better, but we're gonna credit when I actually know something.
Okay, all right, fair.
Where are we on the law?
So you can teach but not preach. You can educate but not indoctrinate. Music is similar. It really depends. It's harder to draw a line in music than really any other area of when religion happens to be in the public schools. The way courts decide it is they look at the overall program and determine whether or not what reasons it was selected for, what's the overall message. If you're doing it for a nativity play and you're spending 3 months on it and kids are ostracized from the class, it almost certainly crosses the line, especially when you're talking about kids in an elementary school. The pressure and their ability to differentiate between what they're learning at school and what they're learning at home is non-existent versus high school kids being able to do this.
And there's a weird little problem here in that you've got for 3 months Jehovah's Witnesses kids are being excluded. That actually may or may not be as big of an issue, and get ready to jump in and correct me because I'm going to fuck this up. But when I look at this as objectively as I can, it's their religious beliefs that are preventing them from being taught something, not so much what's being taught that is necessarily the problem. Because, for example, if you had a course that was entirely secular that had nothing to do with the Bible, but taught about something that a particular religious group was opposed from, so that those kids couldn't attend class. Would we even allow them to not attend class?
Let's use a better example. Let's use the Pledge of Allegiance before it was modified with Under God.
Yep.
Jehovah's Witnesses still wanted to opt out. Not religious at all at that point. And the Supreme Court initially said no, they're not allowed to opt out, and then they eventually
Which is
said,
bizarre, because everybody should be able to opt out. I'm never standing. I'm never saying it.
And the Supreme Court got it right 3 years later, which is a great turnaround. Yeah. And the Barnett decision is wonderful. Everybody should go read it. But here, it is religious, what is being taught also, so it's problematic. And so this is just the interesting legal theory side of things. The more practical side is what you should do if you are in this situation is report it to FFRF. You go onto our website, go to the legal tab and click report a state church violation. Our attorneys will look at it and we will help you fix the violation. And we will also, and this is critical for you, is we will keep your identity confidential. We will not divulge it. We'll just say a concerned community member in this X school district contacted us to report that this violation is going on. Here's why it's a problem. Here's why it needs to stop. And I should say too, I've had mayors write to us before and say, my city council is about to do this. I need you to write a letter and provide political cover for me so that I can come out against it.
Right.
And we've done that, and we've gotten these things stopped.
Now, what ends up happening in a lot of these, I'm sorry, Trey, I don't mean to derail this from you. Hopefully you've gotten enough to kind of get you started on that. But I want to talk to Andrew for a little bit about what happens with the FFRF and legal claims and try to get onto some more calls before we're done. But did that at least direct you towards a good way to start moving past this?
Yes, it did, but my identity is what I mean, like I just...
We've never divulged
this
somebody's identity. We have
Right,
never
it's
divulged
a
somebody's
small
identity.
town, and hopefully nobody's listening, but who knows? I mean, maybe that's what
now
I'm
it's a
trying to get
problem
out
to
of.
say I'm a teacher of this in a small town in this area, and then they get a letter. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, and we can wait a while too to do it. I mean, but the only time people have ever been outed is when they self do it. I mean, and so if you complain to the school board before and then come to us, it's obviously hard for us to protect your identity in that case. But we've even taken lawsuits with the students and parents not named. They are does or rows in the lawsuit, and we can get protective orders.
But also, isn't it the case that, and I don't know what level like you guys perhaps would get involved, but if you submitted this anonymously and the FFRF decided that it was a legal issue worth pursuing, one of the things that could happen is to reach out through various atheist and secular communities to see if there are other people in your school district who would be willing to be complainants and take heat off of you.
Yeah, I mean, and our first step is always just to write an educational letter to the superintendent in this case and explain what's happening and why it's wrong. Yep. So I wouldn't even talk about a lawsuit yet or worry about that. We get between 4,000 and 5,000 state church complaints every single year, and when we send out a letter, most of the time that is good enough to fix it. The vast majority of the time, in fact, we only take between 10 and 20 lawsuits each year. And we are able to fix these things just with education. And honestly, that's preferable. I don't want to sue a public school.
Why would we waste?
This
is constantly people who are so cocksure about their religious liberties wind up costing public school districts and other things money. What's her name?
Kim Davis.
Kim Davis. She owes, what, $225,000 now because of a secondary suit? One of the interesting things, and I'm not a lawyer and not giving you legal advice at all, but if I imagined that I was in your position and I contacted the FFRF and then the school decided to fire me at some point, I'd be fucking rich. Because it may take a while.
Yeah, there is such a thing as a First Amendment retaliation lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave that
However,
dangling.
I wouldn't recommend any of that. The best thing to do is just to report it anonymously, let them write a letter, because a letter fixes it more often than not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There have been enough
I
cases.
just feel better about this, just to feel better about this, that I feel so alone in this small town that I don't think there may be any other atheists. I don't know.
Dan Barker loves to tell a story that when the Alabama chapter of FFRF had its first meeting, it was like 1982 or 3 or something like that. Everybody was really, really nervous to get together and have this meeting. And it was in somebody's house for the first time. And this guy kind of walked in and he was really shy and looked a little scared and kind of glanced around and all of a sudden had this surprised look on his face. And he pointed, and it was his neighbor from the yard behind.
They shared a fence.
They shared a fence.
And would talk over the fence for years.
For 30 years. They were both atheists, and they kept it hidden from each other.
Oh, yeah, I've completely told that story countless times on the show.
Yeah,
the first time Dan told me, and it's because people keep calling in. And they say, oh, I'm the only atheist here.
Yeah.
And the answer is, no, you're probably just the only atheist you know. So there are resources for you on that front. Setting aside the legal issues, in addition to reaching out to like Recovering from Religion to see if there are others in your area that you might be able to talk to. Also, each of the national atheist and secular organizations, or most of them, have some variety of state director or local chapters or whatever else. For example, the Atheist Community of Austin, we're here at 1507 West Canning Lane. Any atheist or atheist-friendly person is welcome to come down. The building's open from 11 to 9, 7 days a week. There's almost always somebody here to say hi, and maybe you can get away from religious relatives or whatever else. But if you now here's the funny thing. Like those neighbors that were back fence neighbors for 30 years
I love this.
And didn't know, there were several secular organizations in Austin. Now, Austin's the 10th largest city in the United States. We have done a public access and now internet TV show for 21 years. And there were other secular organizations that had no idea the Atheist Community of Austin existed. And we've got to do a better job of bringing people together and stop letting people assume that I'm the only one.
Yeah. You're absolutely not.
Yeah.
Unless you're the only one that lives there, and the only other person is the people creating the nativity.
Yeah, if there are 10 or 20 people in your town, there's definitely probably more.
All right. Yeah.
You can reach out to those national organizations. Check out local chapters. That you can look for meetup groups. You can Google your small town's name and atheist, and you might be surprised at what you find.
All right. Cool. Could I tell you just the name of my book, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Little Loksi, Little L-O-K-S-I. It's about a turtle that gets turned over, and all kinds of people help him out, or all kinds of other animals help him out. And it's a Native American story. All right.
Little Loksi.
It's a little difficult to keep your identity secret now. I think.
Yeah. I'm really not. I'm not concerned.
Okay.
I mean, I've lived this way for so long that I think I'm ready to and people are just going to have to face it and accept me.
All right. Well, thanks, Trey, and thanks for sharing your news about your book. Let it, if you don't find an organization, you can always be the one who tries to start a local one.
Yes.
And call us back sometime. Let us know how it turned out.
Okay. Thank